Inside the Ishher workshop, a worker leans over a large DIP 300 lathe to refine a rotating part. Within seconds, his loose jacket sleeve drifts closer to the spinning surface. Never, ever wear loose clothing, long sleeves, gloves, or unsecured accessories while operating rotating machinery. Inside a semi-trailer at a loading dock, a forklift begins backing toward the exit, assuming the trailer is secured. Without warning, the truck starts to pull forward. Do not rely on assumptions during dock operations. This is a common trailer movement risk. Without a physical restraint system, there is no guaranteed connection between the trailer and the building. Prevent this by enforcing wheel chocking before forklifts enter trailers. Use key control systems or dock restraints that physically limit trailer movement. On a quiet street, a man attempts to open a sealed 55-gallon steel drum. Assuming the lid is just stuck, he applies heat without verifying the container's contents. Do not apply heat or introduce thermal sources to a closed or unverified drum. This is a high-risk hot work scenario. Containers that appear empty may still contain residues or vapors that respond in unintended ways when exposed to temperature changes. To prevent this, use non-sparking tools and penetrating oil to loosen fittings. Treat all unmarked or sealed drums as requiring formal verification before handling. Containers must be properly cleaned, purged, and tested using approved methods before any heat-producing tools are brought near them. In a residential driveway, a man descends a tall extension ladder while someone steadies the base on smooth concrete. The ladder angle is too shallow, and as weight shifts, the base begins to slide. At no time should you set up an extension ladder without following the 4-to-1 ratio. This is a significant bus stability risk. When a ladder is placed too flat, the friction at the base is insufficient to counteract the outward force generated during ascent or descent. To prevent this, position the ladder base 1 foot away from the wall for every 4 feet of vertical height, creating the proper 75-degree working angle. On smooth surfaces such as concrete, never rely on a human spotter alone. Use a rubberized ladder mat or secure the base to a fixed anchor point to maintain consistent positioning. Inside a warehouse, workers begin moving a tall mobile scaffold without dismantling it. As it rolls across the floor, the upper sections start to shift out of alignment. Do not move a scaffold tower unless every vertical frame is fully locked using gravity pins or toggle clips. While stationary components may appear stable when standing still, movement introduces vibration and directional forces that friction alone cannot reliably control. To prevent this, perform a strict pre-move check every time. Confirm all frame connections are pinned and locked before releasing the wheels. Clear the travel path of cords, debris, or uneven flooring that could introduce unintended motion. Inside a recycling facility, a worker approaches the chamber of a large hydraulic baler to clear a material blockage, believing the system is temporarily inactive. Never, ever access a compaction chamber, shear zone, or press area without personally applying your own lockout tagout device. This is a high-risk, unexpected activation scenario. Hydraulic balers may initiate movement automatically through timers, sensors, or programmed logic, even when no direct operator command is given. Never rely solely on emergency stop buttons or interlocked gates to limit hydraulic motion. Use long-reach tools or hooks to remove obstructions from a safe distance whenever possible. If physical access is unavoidable, all energy sources must be fully isolated and locked beforehand. Inside an automated packaging facility, a worker steps into the work cell of a robotic arm to realign a pallet without shutting the system down. Under no circumstances should you enter a robotic work cell while the system remains energized. This represents a breakdown in cell integrity. Industrial robots operate strictly according to programmed instructions and do not adjust movement based on the presence of personnel within their operating range. To prevent this, enforce full lockout tagout procedures before entering any robotic enclosure. Access gates must be equipped with redundant interlocks that remove power when opened. If powered maintenance is required, it must be performed using a teach pendant with an enabling device and at reduced, controlled speed. In a reinforcement steel workshop, a worker activates a rebar bender with a long steel bar still extended. The free end begins to sweep outward. Never ever position yourself within the operating radius of a bending process. Long steel bars create wide motion paths when force is applied. The free end follows a predictable arc influenced by material length and applied pressure. Before activating the machine, identify the full sweep area of the bar and mark it clearly on the floor. Always stand on the outside of the bend curve, well beyond the material's reach. Use holding pins, guides, or jigs to secure the workpiece so hands and body remain clear throughout the entire cycle. Inside an aluminum foundry, a worker moves beneath an overhead crane carrying stacked ingots. During travel, the load suddenly shifts. Never ever stand, walk, or work beneath a suspended load. This is the restricted lift zone rule. Even loads that appear stable depend on rigging condition, balance, and surface interaction, all of which may change during movement. Establish and enforce a strict restricted lift zone at all times. Crane operators must avoid positioning loads over personnel, and ground workers must remain outside the vertical travel path of the hook. Use secured containers or properly bundled materials to maintain consistent load behavior. In a precast concrete yard, a worker signals for a crane lift on a large flat beam. He anticipates a vertical lift, but the hoist line is positioned slightly off-center. At no time should you lift a load unless the hoist line is positioned directly over the center of mass. This is a load alignment risk. When alignment is incorrect, gravity naturally encourages the load to reposition before rising. Never stand in the potential movement path of the load. In a sand yard, a worker lowers the heavy steel ramp of a low-loader trailer while positioned in its path. As he releases the safety chain, the ramp begins to move under its own weight. Never ever stand within the travel path of a trailer ramp during release. This is a gravity control risk. Once restraints are removed, ramps move according to weight distribution and mechanical design. Always stand to the side, outside the ramp's movement path. Use controlled release techniques and guide the ramp from a safe position. Never assume a ramp will remain stationary without mechanical restraint. In a narrow industrial alley, a driver exits a yellow truck to open a gate behind the vehicle. During the process, the parking brake is not applied, leaving the vehicle capable of slight unintended movement. Never ever position yourself between a vehicle and a fixed object. This is a clearance risk. Even minimal vehicle movement can reduce clearance margins faster than expected. Always follow the brake before exit rule. Engage the parking brake and confirm it holds before stepping away. Park with adequate clearance to maintain a safety buffer and never turn your back on an unsecured vehicle. To keep learning from these important workplace safety lessons, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay aware, stay safe.